is going on, everybody? What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of 641, where we give you 6 shows for the price of 1. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a lot to get into. That first episode was quite an episode. We had a lot of technical difficulties. I recorded the whole thing in 4K, which I realize now was a complete and utter disaster. And so now we are back. We are in full HD. We are no longer in 4K, but that is A-okay because you know what? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? So yeah, we got a lot to get into. So let's get going for our first segment of Wouldn't You Know It? Fighting words. Let's go. UFC Fight Night this weekend. We have Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev, I believe is his name. Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev. There it is. All right. So we have that going on this weekend, so that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, the main card is a pretty good one. Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev in the main event. Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong in the co-main event. And then we have Sadiq Youssef versus Alex Caceres in the third fight on the card. Khalil Roundtree versus Carl Roberson. Drew Dober is back against Terrence McKinney. And we have Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva at middleweight. So that'll be a good one. We're going to go through that tonight and on this episode. So overall, pretty good card for a fight night at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Not a bad one. Not a bad one. So let's just go through the main event. We're going Thiago Santos, who beat Johnny Walker in his last fight in a 5-rounder. Before that, he was on a 3-fight skid to John Jones, Glover Teixeira, and Alexander Rakic against the surging Magomed Ankalaev, who is won. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on a 7-fight win streak. He last beat Volkan Ozdemir, Nikita Krylov, Ion Cutelaba again. Dalcha, I'm going to butcher this. Dalcha, we'll just call him Dalcha. How about that? We'll just call him Dalcha. And then Kildson Abreu, Marcin Perchnio, and lost his first fight in the UFC against Paul Craig back in 2018. But ever since then, he has been on quite the tear. 7 fights with nothing but W's. So that is very, very cool for him. This is a good fight. If you look at the odds would show you that Magomed Ankalaev is a big, big favorite to win. He is, depending on what sports book you're looking at, minus 333, minus 800, minus 560, minus 560, minus 565 for odds, which would make Thiago Santos plus 240, plus 500, plus 410, plus 410, plus 390. Just depending on what sports book you are looking at. So that's interesting, right? Because I think that when you look at Thiago Santos and why maybe he is the underdog is because he has had a little bit of a rougher go in his last few fights. But Magomed Ankalaev, while he does have a 7-fight win streak, I am not sure that his 7 fights are at the level of competition that Thiago Santos is. You know, not that Thiago Santos is, but the level of competition that Thiago Santos has faced. Thiago Santos, a lot of people forget that he took John Jones to the limit in that fight. That was a split decision win for John Jones, but Thiago Santos brought it in that one. And, you know, that is something that cannot be forgotten, especially going into a fight like this where this is very much the UFC is trying to kind of make Magomed Ankalaev and make him against Thiago Santos. So it's kind of a breakthrough fight. It's one of those fights where, if Magomed Ankalaev wins, he is very much a rising contender in the UFC. But it's on Thiago Santos to maintain his spot and maintain that his position in the rankings and in that light heavyweight division. So I am very much looking forward to that fight. It'll be interesting to see how that one goes. And then you move to the co-main event. You have Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong. Marlon Moraes has had quite the struggle recently, right? Like so he came in the UFC, had a big tear a few years ago. So he beat John Dodson, beat Aljamain Sterling, beat Jimmy Rivera, beat Rafael Assunção, then fought for the interim title against Henry Cejudo and lost that fight. Then he goes on and fights Jose Aldo, has a big win there, big controversial win. A lot of people thought he lost that fight, actually. And ever since then, he's kind of been on a skid a little bit. He had that spinning wheel kick KO loss to Corey Sandhagen, lost to Rob Font, lost to Mirab. Boy, that is a name, isn't it? We'll just call him Mirab. So he lost to Mirab. And, so he's been on a little bit of a skid, especially considering that all three of those fights were TKO losses. And but I would not count Marlon Moraes out. I mean, there was a reason that he went on the run that he went on against people like Sterling, who has a belt now. Assunção. There's a reason he beat Jose Aldo, even though a lot of people thought he'd lost. But I mean, he hung in there with Jose Aldo for 3 rounds. So I don't think you can really count out Marlon Moraes. But the odds, again, he is an underdog in this. But I would not count him out. I mean, I think he is a live dog in this one. You know what I mean? Like, I think that Marlon Moraes will give Song Yadong a run for his money. And, Song Yadong has something to prove, too, because, Song Yadong is Uriah Faber's guy. He's one of those alpha male guys, and he's kind of on the come up, and he has fought a lot of good competition, too. He's won 3 of his last 4. Lost to Kyler Phillips, but he has beaten Marlon Vera, Casey Kenny, and Julio Arce in his last few fights. So, he is doing some really cool things as well. And again, this is one of those fights where, you have one guy coming up and you have another guy kind of on a skid, and they're kind of meeting. So it's on Marlon Moraes to kind of maintain his spot, defend his spot, and it's on Song Yadong to kind of push through that barrier and really make a stamp and make a name for himself as, hey, I'm here and I'm a contender. And so this is going to be a very interesting fight. I do not count out Marlon Moraes, do not count out Thiago Santos. Yes, they have both had some tough fights recently, but I do not think that that either one of them are out of this fight. I think it's very. I would not be shocked if we walked away from Saturday night with both Thiago Santos and Marlon Moraes kind of maintaining their spots. I would definitely not be shocked with either of those. But then again, I would also not be shocked to see the inverse and see Magomed Ankalaev or Song Yadong come away with those wins. So, these are just kind of those typical old versus new fights that the UFC loves to make. This is how they make new contenders. This is how they make new stars, is they put them in there with established veteran guys who may be on a skid or whatever, and they put them in there with guys who are on the come up, and let's see what happens, and that's really where the cream will rise to the top, and we will just see what happens, and it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a very interesting fight card, and I'm very excited for it. And then you have Alex Pereira Alex Pereira is kicking off the main card on ESPN Plus against Bruno Silva, and again, Alex Pereira is probably one of the best strikers in the UFC. He is the guy who KO'd Israel Adesanya in kickboxing and Glory, and he is just a really good striker, and he's been on a tear. Made his UFC debut in November of last year. Had a flying knee TKO in his debut. So I mean, I think that they are kind of looking for him to do some really cool things and really big things in the UFC, and he I think he wants to. I think the UFC is going to try to kind of build him up as a contender and potentially have him fight Israel Adesanya at some point down the line, as kind of because the story would be good there too, right? Like the story of I KO'd you in kickboxing, now I'm coming to MMA to take your belt, blah blah blah. Like that would just be a good story for fight promotion and a good story to kind of move everything forward. So, but yeah, other than that, man, not a Drew Dober. Drew Dober's back, like I said, so he is going to be fighting. Terrence McKinney. He was supposed to fight Ricky Glenn, but Ricky Glenn had that injury, and so Ricky Glenn's out of the fight. Now it's going to be Terrence McKinney stepping in on short notice to fight Drew Dober. I would put Drew Dober on that one. I mean, the odds are showing that Drew Dober is he's definitely the favorite. -150, -170, -170. Pretty much across the board. So Terrence McKinney is an underdog. Again, it's the UFC. Anything can happen. So I would not. I wouldn't count on any one thing happening one way or the other. I would just say that it's going to be an interesting weekend of fights, and it is just going to be kind of this is just kind of a typical UFC fight night card, right? It's nothing. This isn't a big money fight or anything like that. This weekend is just going to be kind of your standard UFC ESPN Plus card, and that being said, there are some good fights, like Thiago Santos and Ankalaev, and like Marlon Moraes and Song Yadong, but it is pretty top-heavy. As you move down the card, J.J. Aldrich is on the card. I recognize that name. But other than that, this card is pretty top-heavy. Chris Moutinho is fighting in the second fight of the night. Chris Moutinho is the guy who stood in there with Sugar Sean O'Malley and took the ass whooping of the century, and he is back, and he is going to be doing some really cool shit. And so, I'm excited for this one. This will be a good fight to watch and to just keep up on, and again, pretty standard UFC ESPN Plus card this weekend. So we will see how all that goes. But I would say if you are a safe bettor, I would say that honestly, if you want to, I would say it's probably not a bad idea to throw some money on Thiago Santos, because I could definitely see him going in there, defending his spot, and coming out with a win. And same thing for Moraes. I think that both of those, while they are fairly big underdogs, I think that those fights both offer. Because Marlon Moraes as well is going to be coming in there with something to prove. He wants to show that he's not slipping, and so he's going to come in there against Song Yadong, and he's going to he wants to prove to everybody that he is not out of this thing, and he is still a contender at 135. So good weekend of fights this weekend. I'm very excited for it. So we will talk about what happened. We will see what happens this weekend, and then we will talk about what happened in our next show on Tuesday. So more to come. So now we move along to Smart Mark University, my favorite college of all time. And in this episode of Smart Mark University, we are not covering current events. We are not doing anything. We are talking about one man who stands alone in the wrestling universe. Actually does not stand alone. He has an entire faction around him. But that man is Chris Jericho. Y2J, baby. Yeah, Chris Jericho. And the title I have for this segment in this episode is Chris Jericho, America's last true rock star. And I say that because, and by the way, I was inspired to do this piece because I did see Chris Jericho come out looking very ripped on AEW, and he looks like he's in phenomenal shape. So shouts out to Chris Jericho. I'm sure he is doing all the right things, and it's really cool to see somebody who's at 50 years old coming out in that kind of shape. It's pretty dope. So, but I say America's last true rock star because this man literally does it all. I mean, really, he does so much stuff. He's obviously a professional wrestler. He obviously has his band with Fozzy, so he's going on tour and doing shows and stuff like that. And then this is kind of a the man. This is kind of an underrated point. The man drinks Grey Goose on the rocks. Yeah. Grey Goose on the rocks. What kind of a savage drinks Grey Goose vodka on the rocks? First of all, vodka is like rubbing alcohol. I hate vodka. But Chris Jericho drinks vodka on the rocks. What a savage. He is which that just goes to show you, he is, like I said, America's last true rock star. He lives that life. He lives that life, and he is very good at what he does. And it's been so fun to see Chris Jericho kind of evolve as a performer in the last few years, because he had those few years with WWE a few years ago where he was doing all the stuff with Kevin Owens, which was so much fun. And just if you look at his career over the last 20 years, right? So you start in 2000, or let's start in 99. So 23 years ago. So in 99, he comes in. He had an entire career in WCW and ECW in Japan and Mexico and all that stuff. And then he comes into the WWF, verbal sparring with The Rock on his very first night. Then he kind of has a lackluster year. Then he goes through kind of 2000, where he's working a lot of matches with Benoit and Guerrero and Kurt Angle, and he's just kind of he's kicking off a lot of these pay-per-view cards and doing a hell of a job. Those are still some of the most fun matches to go watch back. Like I know Chris Benoit is a little bit of a hot topic for people, but if you go back and watch some of those matches, they are good. And then so then you move from 2000 to 2001, and at the end of 2001, he's winning the Undisputed title, beating The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin the same night, which he did not shy away from reminding us on a very regular basis. Chris Jericho, that guy. So he made his run to the top of the card, became the very first undisputed champion in WWF history, the whole deal. And, then he, then loses it to Hunter at WrestleMania, obviously, in Toronto. And then you go into kind of 2002. He goes kind of back to what he was doing in the mid card, and then you go to 2003. He has that barn burner program with Shawn Michaels where they steal the show at WrestleMania 19, which that was crazy. I think a lot of people could argue that he stole the show at WrestleMania 20. That match with Christian and the whole Trish Stratus thing and all that, like that was good stuff. I got into wrestling in 2005, and one of the things I got for Christmas when I got into wrestling was the DVD of WrestleMania 20. And on that was the Mania of WrestleMania from WrestleMania 19. That little, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's really, really good. But I remember watching WrestleMania 20, and there was a lot on that card to like. But for me, I thought that the Chris Jericho, Christian, that whole program really stole the show and was really something that was it was cool to watch. And me as a 10, 11, 12-year-old at that time, and even now, I think that those are really cool things to go back and watch. And then you move into kind of 2004, 2005. He's kind of in the again, just in the mid card, but then he's doing cool shit all the while. Like there was a match at Taboo Tuesday 2004 with him and Shelton Benjamin that was really, really good. And let me make sure that's right. And speaking of Taboo Tuesday 2004, if you have not listened to the Grillin' JR episode covering Taboo Tuesday 2004, you should go watch it. Yes, it was. You should go listen to that, because at the beginning of that, Jim Ross goes off, and he does what only Jim Ross can do, and that is, be red ass JR. So, shouts out to you, Jim. But yeah, no. So he, like 2004, he had a really good match with Shelton Benjamin. I remember that. And at Taboo Tuesday, and then you kind of move into the later part of 2004, early 2005. He's kind of doing different things and kind of just floundering in the mid card. I think he's gone on a record of saying that as well. Then you go into WrestleMania 21, where he has the Money in the Bank, which that was one of the coolest things at that time. Like one of the new hot thing that was happening at that time, and he was a big part of that, and he was on TV. He was billed as sort of the creator of that, and I think that that behind the scenes he was also a big part of that match happening. So Chris Jericho has been. You look at that first run in WWE from '99 to 2005, like. He was doing cool stuff the entire time, like whether it was opening the cards with Benoit and Kurt Angle and doing all that, or winning the Undisputed title or having the barn burner with Shawn Michaels, or having the barn burner with Christian, and then doing the Money in the Bank stuff like that first run. And then like I said, I got into wrestling when in 2005 I was 8 or 9 years old, and I stumbled across the TV, and one of the first things I remember seeing was the very first pick of the draft lottery. Come on down, and Chris Jericho and Cena comes out, and they do the whole thing, and I remember being very bought in when it was the John Cena Chris Jericho match at Vengeance 05. I was very bought in at that time. And so like the entire time he was doing cool stuff. And then that program that he did with John Cena in the summer of 05, right before he left, that was really cool. And then he takes the 2 years off from wrestling, comes back, does the cool, code Chris Jericho cryptic thing where he's, break the code. And then he comes back in and he's doing the, and it was so cool to see him in that sparkly vest that he came out with it. In 2007, that was pretty dope. And then you move into 2008, and he's doing he changes his character. He's got the short hair. He's wearing the suits. He's talking very low and very controlled, and just very like, this is what it is. I'm gonna murder you and your family, and that's it. And so all that stuff. It just kind of. Like, he's just gone through so many variations. So you look at, his first run was kind of all the Y2J character, the Rockstar character, and then you move into the suit era where he's wearing the suits, and then after that you kind of go into the scarves and all of that, and the vest with the lights and all that stuff, and Chris Jericho is just he's always evolving what he's doing. And it's really cool to see that, because, a lot of times, like with guys like Cena, or guys like, no offense to those guys, there's a reason they do it, and I get it, and it's because it works and it draws a lot of money, but then they never really change. They're kind of the same version of themselves all the time. And it's, and by the way, you need people like that. You need people like that in wrestling to make it work. But at the same point in time, you also need people like Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho is going to constantly evolve his character, constantly evolve what he's doing, constantly evolve how he's presenting himself on television, where he's presenting himself, what program he's presenting himself on. And then, so kind of getting back to the timeline of his career, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2009, 2010, he has the Jericho thing. They're a tag team. And while that didn't do it for me at that time, that was kind of a tune out for me. But I do know that was a very big, they did it for a long time, so it had to work in some way. And then, even the stuff like all the stuff he did with Fandango and sort of the later years of his WWE run, and then he goes to Japan and does all that, or it takes more time off, then goes back to WWE, right? And I got a little bit ahead of myself talking about Japan, but he takes some time off, goes back to WWE, does all that stuff with Kevin Owens. They have the "You Just Made the List," which was so entertaining. I use that in my everyday life quite a bit, and nobody understands it. Nobody has any fucking clue what I'm talking about when I say "You just made the list," but I get it, and that's all that matters. Like that's also the one thing that I really love about pro wrestling is that it's very like inside, and there is kind of the thing of like as long as you get it, and as long as like 5 people get it, it works. And I think Kevin Nash and guys like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and those guys, the whole clique, they've talked about that a lot. Like you just made the list is one of those things that I say, and people are like, what? But it makes me laugh. So who gives a shit? But yeah, so he does all that stuff, and then leaves WWE again and goes to Japan, and then has those really crazy matches with Kenny Omega, and he if you listen to him talk about it, he got very seriously hurt in that taking that one-winged angel on the chair. He's like, I cannot do that anymore. Like that is not happening. And just him being able to talk about that and being like, yeah, I can't do what I used to be able to do in terms of physically, like in terms of like physicality wise. I'm not able to take the punishment my body used to be able to. But Chris Jericho, he realizes he can still contribute. He can still add to the show. He can still add value to what everybody's doing. So, and then he goes to Japan. Boy, it is late and my brain is not working right now, huh? But then after Japan, he goes and he joins AEW, and he's one of the founding members of AEW and becomes the first AEW champion and all that stuff. And then he the other genius thing about Chris Jericho is he continues to find ways to stay relevant, right? Like in WWE was the list and the Festival of Friendship and all that stuff that was so much fun. And then he moved to AEW, and it's a little bit of the bubbly and all that stuff in the inner circle, and he was kind of the ringleader of that whole faction. And his character in AEW is different than the one he did in Japan, and that was different than the one he did in WWE, and that was different than the one he did before in WWE, and it just he's constantly evolving, and the fact that he has he's 51 years old, and when he was 46, I think 2017. He had one of his biggest hits of all time with his band Fozzy. Like, who does that? This guy is a treasure, and now to see him still rocking and rolling in AEW and still doing what he does in AEW is really, really fucking cool. And now to see him come out in 2022 at 51 years old and be in the best shape we've seen him in a long time. Big props to Chris Jericho. I am a big Chris Jericho fan, and just the fact that he's been able to, and by the way, he was also on Dancing with the Stars. He's also done like a lot of this other stuff that just people forget about. But Chris Jericho has literally done it all. He has done it all. Hit songs, pro wrestling, starting companies, writing books. I don't have it here. I don't have it in this stack here, but one of the first books I read about wrestling, because when I got into wrestling and at first, you get in and you're a mark, and you just love the product on TV. You buy in, you think it's all, it's all legit, it's all this, it's all that. Once I started realizing kind of what this whole thing was, and there is this thing called kayfabe, and it is sort of a performance or whatever. And then once I got into kind of like middle school, I would say middle school and early parts of high school, then I started to get really into the books, and like Stone Cold Truth is one that I read early on, and whoops, my dice fell. Whoops. Stone Cold Truth is one I read early on. Adam Copeland on Edge is one that I read really early on. Making the Game, Triple H's book, is one that I read. But also in that collection is Lion's Tale, Around the World in Spandex. It's not on my desk here, but it definitely should be. So I might have to go on Amazon and get that one. But I used to have it. I don't know what happened to it, but I've moved a lot and all this stuff. So, but anyways, Chris Jericho is a treasure to the wrestling community. He's a treasure to wrestling fans. And I just think that he is the last of a dying breed. And that is the Renaissance man, rock star, Grey Goose drinking some bitch that just doesn't care. And that is really, really cool. So, like I said, it's just really cool to see him kind of doing what he does still at 51 years old. I think that's what's most impressive to me. The fact that he's 51, he's out there doing what he does on a regular basis, and the fact that he has, I remember when MJF and him were feuding, and they had that stipulation where he couldn't use his entrance music. He walks out and that entire arena is singing the words to his song from his band for his entrance. That's pretty badass, if you ask me. And so Chris Jericho, I think he should go down as one of the GOATs of professional wrestling. He should go down as one of the greatest of all time. And if nothing else, just for his range as a performer and just for everything that he's brought to the business of professional wrestling. He's been involved in every major promotion in North American pro wrestling over the last 20 years. ECW, WCW, WWE, WWF, and now AEW. I would say those are probably the four that stick out as like the major promotions in North America. And Chris Jericho has been associated in some way, big or small, like in ECW, he wasn't there for very long, but he was a big part of that as Lionheart Chris Jericho, and then you go into WCW, and then he does his whole thing there, and which was very entertaining, where he was he was a conspiracy victim and all that stuff, and it's just really cool to see him evolve, and now to see him at 51 and now look back on everything that he's done. Man, it's really cool, and Chris Jericho deserves way more credit than I think he gets, and that is a damn shame. So now, moving along to Sports Informed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sports Informed. Sports Informed. Baseball is back, baby. Let's see here. I just wanted to read this headline because I don't want to get this right. MLB owners and players agreed to a new labor contract, saving a 162-game season for 2022. Opening day is now April 7th. Baseball's back. And, good for baseball because, it seems like baseball has more lockouts and stuff like that. Again, I want to preface this. I said this in the first episode. I want to say this again. I'm an idiot. All right. I don't know shit about dick when it comes to sports, but it seems like baseball has more of these lockouts and things like that than other sports. I may be wrong in that assumption, but that's how it feels to me. And because you look back on, you go back to like 94, where they had the lockout of when Jordan was playing in the minors and stuff. They had replacement players, all that stuff. Yeah, I just feel like baseball maybe has a little bit more of these issues than other sports. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's a legitimate thing, but it does seem that way, sort of from the outside looking in. And again, I have no evidence to back that up. But so part of I'm just reading here. Part of this collective bargaining agreement is that designated hitters will be used in the National League on a permanent basis following its trial run during the pandemic-shortened campaign in 2020, meaning the era of the pitchers at the plate is over. I guess I thought that DHs were already being used. I have not kept up. I don't know anything, but I was under the assumption that was happening already. So the fact that it's happening now, perfect. Awesome. That's dope. But yeah, so baseball's back. We're going to have a baseball season this year. I think I've said this, and I said this, I think, in the last episode, but I don't really have a team. Actually, baseball's probably the one thing that I do have a team for, and that's the Cubs. Right here, I have a baseball that was used. Kerry Wood pitched this baseball in a game, and I was at a Cubs game when I was like 10, and I got this ball. So here it is. But yeah, baseball's like the one thing that I probably do have a team, and I root for a team more so in baseball than in anything else, and that is the Cubs. So I think part of this Sports Informed series is going to be like I'm under no assumption that I am a journalist in sports. That's not me. I'm not going to do that. What I want to do in this segment in this show is do. I want to pick teams, and then I want to follow those teams, and I want to, follow what's happening with that team. How are we looking in terms of wins and losses? I hit the mic again. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so I think we're going to do that for baseball. Definitely going to do that for football next year. I'm going to pick a wonderful team. And I have an idea of who that's going to be, but I'm not going to tell you guys yet because I want it to be a surprise when I finally sign my letter of intent to become a fan of a team. I want it to make an impact, and I want it to mean something. And so I'm not gonna share that right now. But yeah, so there's more to come in this. I want this to be more funny than informative, really. Sports Informed, that's just this show should really be called Sports Uninformed. Because I really know nothing. So, yeah. But yeah. So, but moving along to football, Aaron Rodgers is going back to Green Bay. I thought it was so funny in the last episode. I was talking about how Rodgers basically had three options going back to Green Bay, which was the most likely. I ended up being correct about that because he ended up going back to Green Bay, not retiring. But of course, I record these episodes late at night, by the way, just so everyone knows. And I recorded that, and then I woke up the next morning, and Aaron Rodgers was back to Green Bay. So I was like, well, I'm a little behind the curve here, but you know what? It is what it is. So Aaron Rodgers back to Green Bay, big money deal, good for Aaron Rodgers, the MVP multiple times over. So that is going to be pretty cool. It is a good deal. It is a good day for Packers fans. One of my friends is a huge Packers fan, and it was a good day to be him on Tuesday. So good for Aaron Rodgers. Good for everybody. A lot of quarterbacks are on the move right now, though. Russell Wilson going to Denver. Good for him. I'm sure he's getting a bag there. Carson Wentz going to the Commies over there in Washington. So yeah, quarterbacks are moving in the pocket, as they say. So good for all that. It's really interesting to see. To me, it's really interesting to see kind of how the business of football and the business of sports and all that, how all that works. And so I want to. That's probably what we're going to be looking at more here, and then we will do some funny stuff with picking teams and all that shit. But yeah, so. the business of how all this works and how all this comes together and how the front office and their role and all of that. Like I find all that stuff very fascinating, and so seeing all these quarterbacks and because the quarterback really, again, I know nothing, but to me the quarterback seems like the most important position on the field. If you have a good quarterback, you can kind of you can make up for a lot with a good quarterback. So that's pretty cool to see. Like I said, Carson Wentz going to the Commanders in Washington, formerly the Washington football team. Sweet. It was interesting because Carson Wentz went to the Colts last year. So right around this time last year, he got brought into Indianapolis to the Colts, and that obviously was not working because they didn't make the playoffs this year, and so the Colts front office is kind of like, we're not sure about old Carson, but so he's going to Washington now, which means Indianapolis has an opening for a quarterback. Who knows where they're going? Rumors are they might be looking at one Jordan Love, who was drafted by the Packers to be the replacement for Aaron Rodgers, which is no longer needed. So all that says, boy, I am parched. All that is just interesting to me. It's fascinating. I really am fascinated by how all that stuff works and kind of what the inner workings of all those sports teams are. So we will, I'm sure, cover a little bit more of this as all this off-season stuff goes. And once we pick our team here on Sports Informed, we will be die hard for whatever team we pick. And like I said, we're not revealing that quite yet. So March Madness starts next week. Big college basketball guy here. Love it. Love it. Go basketball. But no, so March Madness starts next week. Once we have the first round established, I'm going to fill out a bracket, and that is something I'm going to share on. Man, I really wish I knew how to do a show. I really wish I knew how to not hit the mic. I'm kidding. But yeah, so once the first round is established, we're going to pick a bracket here on this team. I am going to fill out a bracket as somebody who knows nothing about anything, and we're just going to see how that goes. And who knows, maybe I will blindly pick the perfect bracket. Who knows? We'll see. So, yeah, that is going to wrap up Sports Informed for this episode. We are moving along now to something I'm very excited about. We are moving along to Fitness Friday. Fitness Friday, baby. Fitness. Ooh, got a little ahead of ourselves there. Need to put the clicker down. Fitness. Yeah, so Fitness Friday, this is something we're going to do on a lot of these Friday episodes, and it's just something that I enjoy. I enjoy fitness. I think that a lot of people who have followed me on a Paul World Instagram account have known that. It's something I've kind of documented over the last little while, and so I wanted to do a segment on this show that is strictly dedicated to fitness and to sort of what and just sharing information, sharing tips and tricks, and all the value. So that's what we're gonna do here. So for this first episode of Fitness Friday, I want to talk about full body training versus body part splits. When I first got into lifting weights, and I was reading books like Making the Game. So when I first got into lifting weights, I got into lifting weights, and this was the first book that got me in the gym and got me interested in working out. And this is by Paul Triple H Levesque, and it's a really good book. If you're into weightlifting and you're into pro wrestling and you're into all that stuff, I would highly recommend you read this book. It's actually got some good programming in it. And this was sort of the first programming that I ran. And it has good exercise and stuff like that. I mean, it's all pretty basic stuff, but it's it just has a good, he's got like a sample split that he was doing and all this stuff. So when I first started getting interested in fitness, I was reading this book, and in this book, Triple H at the time, I'm sure, I don't know, his protocol has probably changed at this point, but in that book, he was very focused on full body, and so that's what I started doing. Not full body, body part splits. It was a very body part split program, and so that's what was in that book. So that's why I started doing, and then that was probably when I was between junior and senior year of high school. I would say I got into that, and then my senior year and into my freshman year and sophomore year of college. My freshman year, really, I was doing a lot of body part splits, and I would do, for example, legs. I would do a leg day, and I would be so sore the next day I could not walk up a flight of stairs. I would literally be grimacing as I was walking up a flight of stairs because my legs were so sore, because I had done 5x5s and squats, and then 5x5s or 5x10s and leg extensions, and then leg curls, and then single leg deadlifts, and then doing all that. So by the end, my legs were just torched, and I couldn't, I could barely function. I could barely get out of bed, and I was like, man, this sucks. And so then when I was like a sophomore in college, I found a program called MAPS Anabolic. It's from the guys over at Mind Pump. They're very, very good at what they do, and they're very, very I love what they're doing. They provide a lot of fitness content, a lot of fitness education. I would say if you are looking for a real deep dive into fitness, go check out Mind Pump, because it's a very they're going to give you a lot more bang for your buck in terms of, I'm going to give you like basic shit and like basic, like, hey, person to person, as just like, this is kind of a regular, I'm just kind of a regular dude, just giving, what works for me. But if you want like the science behind everything and all that, go check out Mind Pump. They'll give you all that stuff. So, but I found their program called MAPS Anabolic, and MAPS Anabolic is a full body program. And, it's a full body workout 3 to 4 times a week. And I started doing that, and I started experimenting with that, and I just fell in love with it. And ever since then, I've been running that program pretty much. I ran that program pretty much for the better part of 3 years, and then I kind of took some time off from the gym, kind of just fell out. And then when I got back into it, I started doing some more body part split stuff and doing all that, and it just wasn't working, and I didn't like it. And so I went back to the full body workout and doing compound lifts, squats, deadlifts, all that. That's really where I started to see real changes in my physique, was doing those full body workouts 3-4 times a week and doing the heavy compound lifts all the time. And so getting into the full body training, one of the reasons that it works is because it's very longevity focused. I think that body part splits are a lot of times sort of a quick, like it's very short term focused, and so they're always designed as like a 12-week program or a 16-week program to get you in the best shape of your life, and you're gonna go from being a fat slob to being have a 6-pack washboard abs, and there is a place for that stuff, but for most people, body part splits are way too intense and way too very unsustainable for most people. I'm not talking about like bodybuilders and stuff like that. They operate in their own world. They're doing their own thing. So let them do that. Let them take all the steroids and pump themselves up and whatever, and do their body part splits. It's all good. You guys operate over there. But for regular people who go to an office, people who work in a restaurant, people who do whatever, I always, whenever people ask me for fitness advice, I always recommend full body training because one, it's longevity focused. It's very sustainable. You don't have to be in the gym every single day. You can get by with being in the gym for 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. And if you miss a day, you're not completely neglecting one body part. So let's say you skip out, like if you're in a body part split and you miss a day, okay, now what? Do you make that day up on another day, or or are you just skipping that for that week? The thing I really love about full body training is that you're hitting everything every time. You're hitting it in different ways. Like one day you might hit your legs with squats, and another day you might hit your legs with deadlifts. But you're still hitting your legs. It's just you're hitting it from a different side, and you're hitting it in a different way. And so nothing is ever going to be completely neglected with full body training, and it just is. For me, I always go back to it. I've tried full body stuff, or I've tried body part splits, and I've tried going back to that kind of thing. But for me, full body training has always been superior, and it's always the thing I keep going back to because it A, gives me the best results, and B, it's something I can sustain long term. And I think that that's the big part. It's not a quick fix. It's not anything like that. It's going to take a year, 2 years. And saying that is very unpopular, right? Because everybody wants the quick fix. Everybody wants to, the 16-week or the 12-week program that's going to get you in the best shape of your life and all this stuff. The reality is, though, that that's not reasonable. That's not feasible for most people. Like, getting in the best shape of your life in 12 weeks, while that sounds really good, then what? Then what comes in week 13? What are you doing then? Like, are you going to stay on the same program? Are you going to just keep hammering the shit out of every body part 5 times a week? Do you want to spend 5-6 days a week in the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day? For me, the answer to that was no. And I really liked the fact that I can go in the gym 3 to 4 times a week for an hour and a half, or an hour to an hour and a half, and hit everything. And if you look at the volume at the end of the week, let's say you do a leg day, right? You do one leg day a week, okay? And you're doing 5 sets of squats, 5 sets of deadlifts, 3 sets of leg extension, and 3 sets of leg curls. Okay, so your total volume is at 16 sets, right? With full body, if you're doing 3 workouts a week, you're doing, the way I run it is I do in one workout I'll do maybe 5 sets of squats, and that's it for legs. And then I'll go and I'll do, and that's it for legs. And then the next workout I'll do 5 sets of deadlifts, and that's it for legs. And then the next workout, I'm back to doing 5 sets of squats. So at the end of a week, if I work out 3 times, I have 5 sets of squats, 5 sets of deadlifts, another 5 sets of squats. So while the overall volume is 1 set lower than if you did a full body or a body part split and you did a leg day, the result is you're getting way more squats in that workout than you would be, or in that week, than you would be if you hammered the shit out of your legs, couldn't walk for 3 days, and then you don't hit legs for another 7 days after that. So for me, full body training is, and you don't get as sore. Like, for me, the soreness is a big thing. I always say this: fitness is something that should add to your life. It should not take away from your life, and it should not take over your life. It should add to your life. So if you're going in the gym every single time and you're hammering the shit out of every body part, to the point where you can't move and you can't walk, that's taking away from your life. That's taking away from, you being a person and you being a real human being on the planet. Why would you want that? But if you can go in there and you can, do 5 sets and then that's it for legs, and then but you're doing that 3 to 4 times a week, and you can keep that up for months and years, your legs are going to grow. Like, your legs are going to grow, and you're going to see some real good results. The other thing I love about full body training is, like I was saying about the squats, like you do 5 sets of squats, that's it for legs, right? Then you're moving on to let's say bench press. Moving on to bench press. Okay, another compound lift that is very central nervous system stimulating, because that's what you're trying to do when you're lifting weights, and when you're doing compound lifts, they're very taxing on your central nervous system, and so you want that. That's how your muscles grow. That's how you get in better shape. Whatever is you're really working out your nervous system. You're putting your nervous system as well as your muscles, but you're putting your nervous system under a lot of stress in that. So the response of your nervous system is sending signals to your muscles to grow. And with full body lifts, you can go from squats to bench press to bent over rows to shrugs. Like, all four of those are very good exercises, and they will juice up your central nervous system to just, no one thing is getting worked to the point where you can't move, but everything is getting worked, and your entire body is being juiced up, because, your nervous system is going, you're literally working everything. And so your nervous system is just going, and it's responding. And to me, that's where I've seen the biggest, muscle growth and the most gains is when I'm doing full body lifts and getting that central nervous system response that you're really looking for whenever you exercise. So, and the last part of why I prefer full body lifts over something like a body part split or a push pull legs or anything like that is you're building everything up together. So you're always going to stay proportionate. You're never going to, when you do body part splits, I think it's very easy to say, oh, leg day, no thanks. And then just do all your, you're in the gym doing a shoulder day, a back day, a chest day, and those are all fun to do. But everybody hates leg day. When you do full body lifts, you don't really have the option. I mean, you do have the option to skip out on legs, but if you're going in there to hit everything, and I always start with the leg exercises and the big, squats or deadlifts, I always start with those right away, because they're the hardest to do. They're the one that I dread the most, and they're the ones that if I get those out of the way, then it's like, okay, I've got some momentum here, and I can just kind of go and go and go for the rest of the workout. So, for me, full body lifts have always been the best option, and I would recommend them to anybody out there who, if you just want to get started working out, just go in and hit everything for 3 sets. Just go in and do something for your legs, whether it's, if you're just starting out, do leg press, and then maybe you can progress and change your limits, progress up a little bit, and then you start doing some body weight squats, and then you start doing some squats with just the bar, then you start doing some squats with a 10, then you just keep adding weight, and eventually you're going to get to a point where you're pushing some serious weight around there. So, I just love full body training. For me, has been the best thing, and I will swear by it, I'm sure, for forever. And it just is the best way to train, in my opinion, for the average person. Like I said, they're always going to be the outliers. They're always going to be the bodybuilders and the juice heads and things like that. They want to do the body part splits, and they probably work well. Like, when you're on gear, those things do work well. But if you're not on gear and you just want to kind of get in shape and you want to incorporate fitness into an already healthy lifestyle, and you want to incorporate some kind of weightlifting into an already somewhat healthy lifestyle, I would say that a full body program is probably your best bet. And for me, that's where I've seen the most results. I've seen the most results when I'm doing the full body programs, when I'm doing kind of everything all at once. I get the best results because, like I said, everything is growing. You're growing you're working your legs, you're working your chest, you're working your back, you're working your shoulders, all in one workout. And I got to be honest too, the pumps are pretty good too. I mean, if you're doing everything, you walk out of there, you feel like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1978. You feel like you're, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ah, feel good, doesn't it? Yeah. But no, so full body training for me, always gonna be the way I train. I will always kind of experiment with other stuff because I'm very curious about it, and I am very curious about, what if I did this? What if I incorporated this little thing or whatever? But at the same point in time, I full body training is always going to be the thing I come back to because it works the best for me. And that's the thing about fitness as well that I want to get across is it has to work for you. It has to be something that you can do, that you can sustain for a long time because life is long. Like life moves beyond a 12-week program, and life moves beyond, just getting in shape for one event. Ideally, you want fitness to be a part of your life for the long haul. And for me, body part splits are not great for that because they demand too much time and they make you too sore. At least for me, they make me too sore. And if I miss a workout, then it becomes very hard to kind of, keep everything consistent. But full body training is good because it offers you a lot of flexibility. If you miss a workout, you're missing everything, but you're not sacrificing one thing if you miss one workout. And then the beautiful part about that is it's really easy to make up the next day because you're just doing exactly what you would have done the day before if you missed. So full body training for me is always going to be the correct answer to anybody who says, how can I get in shape? Full body strength training is going to be the answer for me. Now we move along to Flashback Friday. And this is going to be something I do on Fridays just to kind of, I want to tell some stories on this show, and I want to tell some stuff that's going to make people laugh and make people it's going to entertain a little bit. And so Flashback Friday, that's going to be my way to do it, is just tell stories of real stuff that's happened, and hopefully it entertains people. So today I want to tell a story of the worst Uber of all time. I was down in Kansas City 3 years ago, and we were going from my friend's apartment downtown, about a 20-minute drive. And so we got an Uber. I called the Uber, and the guy pulls up into the apartment complex, and he's driving a Kia Soul, which already it's like we're set up for failure here because it's a Kia Soul, okay? And there's 4 of us that are getting in this Uber. And it's an Uber X, not an Uber XL, but, whatever. So, the guy gets in the apartment complex. He can't find where we're at in the apartment complex. It's, this whole thing. So finally I find the guy. He's over kind of across the parking lot. So I go and he rolls down the window, and literally this dude has like a leather jacket on. He's got black slick back hair. He's like a Russian guy. And he looks at me. He rolls the window down. He looks at me from across he's in the driver's seat. There's a passenger seat, and the window of the passenger seat is rolled down. And he looks at me. He goes, "Get in the car." And I'm like, fuck. I literally thought to myself, this is where I die. This is where, it's over for me. And this is where I have come to. This is going to be the way I go out. It's going to be in this Uber with this serial killer who is going to drive us downtown Kansas City. So I get in the Uber. I'm like, while he's saying that, I'm like trying to wave my friends out, like, "Hey, we're over here. We're over here." And so I'm trying to do that, and he's like, "Are you getting? I gotta find my Russian accent real quick. Are you getting in or what?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I get in, and now it's just he and I in this car by ourselves. And so he pulls around. We pick up my friends or whatever, and then I put up my seatbelt on or whatever, and I'm shitting my pants. I am terrified of this dude, and we get on the freeway, and this dude, no bullshit, starts going probably 95 on this freeway, just zooming in and out of traffic, just and we're in a Kia Soul. If you forgot what a Kia Soul looks like, here's what it looks like. Shit box. That's what it looks like. So we're in a shit box that is the size of a toaster, and we're going 95 on a freeway through Kansas City, and literally this dude's weaving in and out of traffic going 95 mile an hour, and at one point he jerks the wheel. We all go, whoa. One of my friends in the back seat smacks his head on the glass of the window. Like, this dude doesn't give a fuck. He is running and gunning this Kia Soul into the ground. And like, he is just, I mean, it is just a comedy of things. So then we get downtown Kansas City. We're driving into downtown, into the Power and Light District or whatever. And he stops at like a red light, and I see people. And at this point, I am beyond terrified. We were participating in some extracurriculars at the pregame, so I was a little, feeling good. And so he stops. I see people walking, and I'm like, oh, there's a crowd. We must be here. So I take my seatbelt off, go to get out of the car. He's like, whoa, what are you doing? And I'm like, he's like, no. And I was like, all right, I guess it's not time to get out yet. And so I like put my seatbelt back on. I'm like, sorry, sir. And then we get down there, and it was just, I got out of that Uber, and I was like, oh boy, that was a close one. Because I thought, if this guy doesn't murder me before we get downtown, or if he doesn't pull out I was waiting for him the entire time. I was waiting for him to pull out a pistol with a silencer and just be like, I'm sorry I had to do this. And just, I'm done. That's what I was expecting. And then once we get on the freeway and we're going 95 mile an hour in and out of traffic, I'm like, okay, if I don't die by a pistol with a silencer, I'm definitely going to die in a traffic accident, because this dude is out of his fucking mind, weaving in and out of traffic, doing the whole deal. So it was just a shit show from the word go. And I was so relieved to get out of that Uber and never have to see that guy again. And I haven't. And if you are that guy and you're watching this show, fuck you. But no, it was fun. It's fun to look back on now. At the time, it was very scary. I was shitting my pants, like I said. So, but now it's fun to look back on, and it's one of those things that I'm just like, oh boy. But yeah. So now that we got Flashback Friday out of the way, now we move along yet again to our sixth and final show in the show of 6 shows, the Friday Freestyle. And by the way, if you are wondering, that is me. That is a I was doing a one-arm handstand right there. So yes, that is me on the screen, doing the little, breakdancing move. I'm quite the breakdancer. I'm sure you probably gathered that from watching this show, but if you are not, I am quite the breakdancer. I'm not going to show you because I don't want to, I don't want to embarrass you, because I'm sure you're not the best breakdancer if you're watching this, but I'm very good. I'm kidding. But anyways, so Friday Freestyle is just going to be, I used to have a podcast called The Paul Show, and very original, I know. And it was kind of like my first toe in the water into content. And it was pretty much this. It was literally like, I had no format. I had no direction. I had no consistency. Like that, it was just a disaster. And not because I didn't enjoy doing it. I really did enjoy doing it, but it was never going to work the way I was doing it, because I was just doing it and I was like, I'll just talk about whatever I want. Well, turns out talking about whatever you want is not a real sustainable approach to doing a show, but But this is going to be kind of, an homage back to that. And I still like it. I still like doing that kind of thing. But as a show by itself, it's probably not the best thing. So Friday Freestyle is just going to be where I kind of talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And so that's what we're going to do here. First thing I want to talk about. So this video is going to go up on Instagram. So I want to kind of address my Instagram account, Paul World. That's been an interesting project for me. The Paul World has been an interesting project for me because it started as a fitness account, Paul World Fitness, and then I dropped the fitness and I just changed it to Paul World, and I'm like, okay, well, I like that better anyway, so let's just do that, and let's just keep putting fitness content out there or whatever. So I started doing these videos, and I started making kind of these gym montage videos. I enjoyed doing them. I thought they were kind of cool. I really did enjoy them, but I remember Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, saying, "Don't make your body your gimmick, brother." And yeah, I really do like fitness, and I really do like working out, but to make that the subject of content for myself is not sustainable. And I got to the point where I just wasn't even enjoying it anymore. And there were times like toward the end of last year, or even like I would say probably from the time I did like the first gym montage video, I was kind of just like over the whole fitness thing. And I was doing it because I thought it's what I should be doing. And it's like I had seen other people do it, and I was like, well, I can do that. Like I know how to get the footage, I know how to edit it, I know how to get the music. I can do all that stuff. But for me, I just wasn't enjoying it. And there were times I wouldn't be in the gym unless I was filming those things. And that's not what I want. I don't want, and like I'm not the most like fitness dude in the world. Like I'm not the fittest guy on the planet. Yes, I'm in pretty good shape. Yeah, sure. But I'm not the fittest dude. Like if you want legit fitness advice on Instagram, I'm probably not the one to come to. I'll just be honest with you folks. Like I am probably not the one to come to. But no, there's people who like, if you want real fitness advice, go somewhere else. Like you don't want to come to me because I'm going to give you advice that you don't want to hear, which is it's going to take a long time. You want to do full body training. You want to do this. You don't need to do a whole bunch of cardio. You won't see me doing a whole lot of battle ropes or anything like that. Like I'm not the trendy fitness guy. That's just not who I am. I'm just a longevity focused working motherfucker. And that's not very popular with people. And I get that. And I'm not saying that like, that's a bad thing. And I like fitness is a big part of my life and will always be. But for me, like the Instagram, I've just kind of come to the realization that it's more a vehicle for content in whatever form that is. Yes, there's going to be some fitness stuff, but it doesn't need to be me in the gym all the fucking time. Like that just, I'm sure that gets old. And if it doesn't get old for the people watching it and the people looking at it and the people, consuming it, it gets old for me. And that's all I really give a shit about. I mean, honestly, like if it's not fun for me to do, and if I'm not having a good time doing it, like I'm not going to do it. I apologize, but I'm not going to do it. And that's why I like this show. This show is fun for me to do. I really enjoy doing this. But just trying to make trying to make it as a fitness influencer is not something I really have that much interest in. I never have. That's why I made a video mocking like fitness influencers. It's because I don't really want to do that. Like I don't give a fuck about that. I want to make good content. I want to make good shows. I want to express myself creatively. I want to do all the stuff, but fitness probably for me isn't the main driver of all that. And that's a realization I've come to probably over the last, I mean, it's slowly happened over the last, like, sort of, last probably 6 months, but it's something I've really come to over the last couple months. Like, hey, I really had a moment with myself where I was like, is this what you want to be doing? Is this what you want to be known for? Do you want to be the guy that's just like making gym videos? And for me, like, the answer to that was clearly no. No, I don't. I really don't. I want to do more than that. And I think I bring more than that to the table. And that's part of why I'm doing this show, is because I think I can bring more than just fitness to the table. Yes, fitness is a part, like on today's show, but it's not the end all be all for me. And if, and I just don't want to feel like, I don't know. I'm still like, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know if people want to see the fitness stuff. I don't know if they want to see more of the professional photos. I'm kind of just transitioning more into like, that's going to be my account for professional photos, for content in general, and the fitness stuff there'll still be parts of it that are that, but that's not going to be all it is from now on. Like, I'm just kind of over that. And, making the montages and stuff like that, that was fun to do, and it was good reps for editing and stuff like that. But for me, like, I just got tired of, like, I was like, it felt a little self-indulgent, felt a little masturbatory to do all that and like to put that out, and it is what it is. And like I said, if you want people who are balls deep in fitness, those people are out there, and you can go find those people. But for me, fitness is a part of my life. It is not my entire existence, and it's not going to be what is my entire online persona. That's just not going to be part. That's not the deal for me. But I mean, and God bless the people who are doing that, because it's a grind, and I get it. But for me, that as, fitness as a content strategy is over. As a long-term strategy on social media, the fitness thing is done. Not that I'm done with fitness. I'm still very much into it. And I worked out yesterday, and I'm going to work out tomorrow, and I'm still going to be, talking about fitness on here and talking about things that I'm passionate about in that space. But the constant gym selfie, I can't do it. I can't do it long term. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. The Instagram, I have ideas of what I want to do with it, and I think that those are going to be really cool, and those are going to be more creative, and then they're going to be, tie some fashion stuff in there. And of course, there is still going to be some fitness stuff on there, but just the day in, day out, I'm in the gym again kind of thing, like, for me on Instagram is over, and that's something I'm totally okay with. I'm totally okay with that. And, because now I'm pouring all the energy that I was pouring into just, I like going to the gym and not feeling like I have to take a photo, not feeling like I have to make a video, not feeling like I have to make sure everybody knows that I'm working, make sure everybody knows that I'm, putting in the work. I know that I'm putting in the work, so I don't give a fuck. That's pretty much it. But yeah. And then I also just kind of want to talk about how much of a fucking disaster the first episode of the show was. Complete, utter disaster. I'm really glad I did it. And like I said, this one has gone way smoother. This one has been way more fun for me to do, way less problems. Like I said at the top of the show, I did the entire first one in 4K. Bad. that was really kind of the crux of the issues, right? Recording it in 4K because I recorded it in 4K. That camera right there that is pointing at me right now, that's filming this whole episode, that camera right there crashed halfway through. We lost an hour and a half of footage, and it was gone. I had no way to get it back. So, strike one. Then I go to edit it, and I'm using this camera. We used this camera for the entire thing last time. And we used this camera, we used this video the entire time, and, all good and dandy. But it was like I don't have the computer that I would need to really edit and render 4K. Like, I got the entire episode edited, hour and a half episode, edited together. Clicked export. It was rendering. Halfway through, it was rendering. Computer crashes. Lose the whole thing. Have to re-edit. Strike two. Okay? Then, what I want to do for this show, and, my kind of plan for it, is I want to do a full episode and then break it all up into clips and put the clips out as well. It's not reinventing the wheel here, but then I started to do that, and it was going to take an hour and a half to just splice out one clip of the episode. So I'm like, all right, you know what? We're going back to HD. That was a disaster. And yeah, it just, you learn these things though. Like there was no way for me to know how much of a disaster that was going to be. I should have known. Like I've recorded in 4K before, but it's very different recording a 5-minute YouTube video in 4K than it is a hour and a half podcast episode or whatever this is, YouTube show episode. I don't even know. Like part of me wants to call this a podcast, but part of me wants to be like, it's not a podcast, because it's really not. Like there's no audio feed, all that stuff. But it's very different recording a 5-minute, exporting a 5-minute YouTube video in 4K versus an hour and a half episode in 4K. Those are two totally different things. And it just, I should have known, but you know what? You live, you learn, and here we are. So, and then sort of to wrap up Friday Freestyle and wrap up this episode of 6 for 1, wrap up episode numero dos of 6 for 1, which, by the way, if you've made it this far and if you're watching the Friday Freestyle, thank you so much. You're the fucking bomb. I appreciate you more than you know. And again, like I said in the last episode, if it's 3 years from now and you're watching this as an archive, thank you so much. I appreciate you. But no, so the last couple of days I've been watching the show Space Force on Netflix with Steve Carell and whatever, and it is goofy. It is real goofy, and John Malkovich is in it, and it is a goofy ass show. But before that, I was watching Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath. So this is a nice change of pace. After the death and destruction of Scientology, now we are going to the stupid humor that is Space Force. So it's a nice little break. But yeah, so Space Force, I really don't even know what's going on in the show. All I know is that there's some funny one-liners. They're going to space. There was a gorilla. It's pretty funny. I enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. And if you have any friends that might enjoy this show, tell them to come watch this show. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, that is going to wrap up this episode of 6 for 1. Like I said, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode or any clips of this show. I would greatly appreciate that. My name is Paul. I'm the party captain here on 6 for 1. So thank you guys for watching. You can follow me on Instagram @APaulWorld, where we will be posting less fitness shit than ever before, and more general content stuff, more stuff just to have fun than ever before. And I am more excited about it than I ever have been before. So things are better than ever, if you couldn't tell over here. Yeah. So we will wrap this baby up, and I will see everybody in episode numero 3. So, yeah. Let's get the fuck out of here.